Hey guys, good morning. Today we're going to be going over our lesson of the executive branch and the President of the United States. We'll be talking about the executive branch both at the federal and at the state level, with a focus being on the President of the United States, the head of the United States executive branch. Our objective today is that students are going to be able to gain a better understanding of the roles and responsibilities of the executive branch at both the federal and the state level. I always like to start here. Um, when a lot of times when people think of the United States government or even the United States, their mind instantly goes to the president. He's at the forefront. He's on the news. He's who we see. He's the guy who many people believe, would say he's running the show. He's in charge. So, becoming the president, how does one become the president? I always like to ask this question. I remember when I was a little kid, adults, grown-ups would ask you, "Oh, what do you want to be when you grow up?" And people would say, "Oh, I want to be a firefighter. Oh, I want to be a police officer. Oh, I want to be the president of the United States." I don't think I ever said I wanted to be the president of the United States, but it would be interesting to hear from you guys what your feelings were. Did you ever want to be president? So you need a couple things to become the president. The presidency has some pretty strict requirements, though there are not that many. A president must be a native-born United States citizen. He or she must be 35 years of age, and you have to be a resident of the United States for at least 14 years. Now, what characteristics do most presidents have, right? You want to become the president. What would be give you a helping hand? As of yet, all presidents have been male. However, I would expect in our lifetime we would see our first female president, and we'll get into some presidential firsts in just a moment. Most have been Protestant. We have only had two non-Protestant presidents, those being Joe Biden and JFK. Most have a college education. Every president since 1953 has. Eight presidents have attended Harvard. So if you're really gunning to become the president, getting a Harvard education, either in business or preferably law, would be a good stepping stone. Most presidents have military service. Only 11 presidents do not have military experience. As we get more modern, less and less presidents will have military experience. Mainly due to the increased stability of our country, as opposed to those early days where all of the presidents, were either serving in some sort of military, maybe the American Revolution, like George Washington. Here's some historic firsts of a couple of different presidents. Our former president, Donald Trump, he was the first president to have no political and no military experience, sort of proving that idea that, hey, anybody can become a president. You can become a president. Barack Obama was, of course, our first African American president. JFK, as I previously mentioned, was the first Catholic president. And Herbert Hoover, a guy we don't really think of much anymore, he was the first president born west of the Mississippi River, sort of um, solidifying this American expansionist, across the entire continent. All right, the president and the vice president. You know, you need. So, one of the first questions that we're going to look at is how long does the United States president serve? President serves maximum of two 4-year terms if they are reelected. The previous president, Donald Trump, he served 4 years. However, he was not voted into office again. He was not reelected. So you can serve a maximum of 8 years. This was a precedent set by George Washington. Here is where I would ask the class what precedent means. While it was not a law, it was sort of a guiding idea that this is something we should do. You really shouldn't be the president for that long. This should be a continuous change, keeping the ideas fresh, keeping the role of the president active. The 22nd Amendment officially limited this to 2 terms after Franklin Delano Roosevelt served 4 terms. This was mainly due to the Second World War going on and a lot of other issues. But after he was done being president, after he passed away, they decided, let's make this a law. George Washington was right. What does the president get? Once again, I asked you guys, do you want to become the president? Well, let's take a look at some of the things that they get. They get 40 or 400, excuse me, $400,000 a year, which seems like a large salary. But if you look at other leaders of different countries, maybe not so much, still a lot of money. They receive use of Air Force One, which is the presidential airplane, travels them all around the world. Presidential limousine, the White House, as well as Camp David, which is a sort of home away from home for the president, as well as Secret Service. Many people don't know that the Secret Service actually sticks around after you stop being the president. You always will receive Secret Service protection, whether you are currently a president or formerly a president. Even though Jimmy Carter is well into his 90s, I believe, he still has Secret Service protection. I don't know who was trying to get Jimmy Carter, but he's got the guys there to protect him. You also receive a pension. You get a government check to keep you living at a constant income level. The American government has decided that we don't want to see a president slowly slip into poverty. That wouldn't be a good look for the United States president. So we've already mentioned the president. Now we're going to talk about the vice president and their role. Their role, first and foremost, is to be backup. The Presidential Succession Act stated that it was a law that was passed in 1941 that lists the line of succession after the president. So if anything were to happen to the president, the vice president can simply assume office due to this law. Now, I had this question come up in a couple of the classes I teach because, of course, everybody's next question is, "Hey, what happens if what happens if something happens to the vice president? Where does it go from there?" The chain of command ascends smoothly. That was what this law in 1941 set out to do. It goes from the president to the vice president to the Speaker of the House. Nancy Pelosi is no longer Speaker of the House. I need to update that. Then it goes to the President pro tempore, which is a leader in the Senate, and then goes to the Secretary of State. And then the Secretary of Treasury. It actually continues all the way down through the different departments, but I'll save that for later. We'll get into that in just a moment because I want to talk about the roles and the powers of the United States president. Now, here I put that he is a man who is wearing many different hats. That is because he does. He has a lot of different roles and responsibilities as the president. He is chief executive, chief diplomat, organizing relations between other countries, chief of state, commander in chief, chief legislator, economic leader, as well as the party leader. Whatever party the president is from, he is the leader of that party. I remember when Joe Biden was on the debate stage against Donald Trump, he said, "I am the Democratic Party." And he meant that. He is the leader of the Democrats. So, first role, chief executive. Sort of a broad term, but this encompasses things like to enforce the laws of the United States, as well as being the boss. He's in charge of the government workers. He is all the way at the tippity top. He also has the ability to choose officials and advisors to help him run the executive branch. He can't do it alone, so he needs people around him to help. He's also the commander in chief. He's the supreme commander of the United States Armed Forces. All different branches all report to him at the end of the day. He's also the chief legislator. The president suggests new laws every year, the State of the Union. Sometimes you guys might see that on TV, where the president will get up and have a big speech before Congress. The president also submits a budget to Congress every year. And I would argue most importantly, his role as a chief legislator, he has the ability to veto bills, meaning that he can refuse the passage of new laws. This can, of course, be overridden with a 2/3 vote in both houses. That is an example of those checks and balances taking action. Now, who else works in the executive branch? I mentioned that he can't do it all alone, so obviously he needs people around him to help him. So who are those people? First, we have the presidential cabinet. As you can see here, these are all different areas of the country that would need help running, whether that be commerce, labor, transportation, education. He needs people who are experts in these fields, who are able to help him out, make decisions for what is going to be best in these different areas. I also mentioned with the Presidential Succession Act, signed in 1941, that if something were to happen to the president, it then descends this list. um, every leader of each department is called the secretary. So they are like the Secretary of State, Secretary of Labor, Secretary of blah, 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 like, continuing down the list. All except for the Department of Justice, that is the Attorney General. They get their own special name. They're fancy. They're lawyers. I don't know how they swung that, but they are called the Attorney General. Also, a member of the executive branch is the Chief of Staff. He is the top assistant. He is the one in the president's ear saying, hey, listen to me, you need to do this, you need to do that. Helping him oversee the staff of the White House, managing the schedule, and deciding who the president is going to meet with. What's going to be best for the president? Oh, if he speaks with this individual, this will help him be a better leader of the executive branch. Currently, this is Mr. Ron, seen to the right. Typically, this chief of staff will remain consistent throughout a presidency. We also have the first lady. While no official duties the first lady has, and no salary, they still are a member of the executive branch. They're the hostess of the White House. They're the wife of the president, and they usually take on some specific cause to promote. I remember when I was a kid, the Obamas were in the White House, so Michelle Obama, her big initiative was better school lunches, and I actually noticed that while I was in school, school lunches began to change because they took that initiative. Um, All right, now we're going to sort of switch gears a little bit and we're going to talk about the state executive branch because just like the federal government has an executive branch, so does the state. And you guys might be quick to notice that some of these roles sort of mirror what's going on in the executive executive branch at the federal government level. All right, so to start off, we have the governor. Now, a governor is like the president. He's the guy in charge. Currently, our governor of South Carolina is Henry McMaster. Now, these responsibilities, once again, are going to sort of mirror the president. He is going to make a state of the state, address the South Carolina General Assembly, submit the executive budget, ensure that state laws are enforced, and he is the ex officio commander-in-chief of the National Guard. Oftentimes in South Carolina, we get a lot of hurricanes here, and sometimes we need to deploy the National Guard, a member or a group of the military, to go and help people in affected areas. And the governor has the responsibility and the rights to send those gentlemen. Who is a part of the SC executive branch? Now, the governors get to choose their own cabinets, just like the presidents. And beneath them, they have a lot of different people. They have the lieutenant governor, who's similar to the vice president. They have, once again, an attorney general of the state, superintendent of education, sort of like the secretary of education that the president has, and so on and so forth. Now, I didn't want to list them all here because I'm going to have you guys work on a little bit of that. Just allow me to exit out, and we will sort of shift gears to our activity for today. And this will be posted to the Google Classroom. Just to start off, this is a little bit of more background, sort of reiterating some of the things that I've already said. I won't expect you guys to read this all out, but this is there. It will be on the Google Classroom in case you won't need to view it for studying or anything like that. All right. So today what we're going to be doing is we are going to be completing a little web quest where I'm going to be tasking you guys on figuring out who are members of the South Carolina Executive Branch. Now, I've provided you guys with two links. This bottom link is probably where I would head first. That gives you a lot of information of who is members of the executive branch, as well as their links to their websites. So it's a very helpful link. I would head over there as we begin to fill out this chart here. Now, I'm looking for a couple things. I'm looking for the name of the individual, the position, which I've already given you because that's what I'm looking for. And then I'm going to ask you guys, what does this position do? What are their roles? What are their responsibilities? And I also want to see a link to a campaign ad. I want to see who is this person? What are the things that are on their mind? What are they most concerned about? I need to know what political party they're a part of. I will give you guys a hint. We are in the deep South. Many of these individuals are going to be Republican. I also want to know how many years are they in office. So for this first one, I've already filled out for you. Henry McMaster, he is our governor. These are his roles. He is a Republican and he serves a 4-year term. Now going down, we see a couple different individuals. I'm going to have you guys fill out those. These two boxes down here at the bottom are blank, and that is because I want you guys to come up with two other individuals who are part of the executive branch of South Carolina. I want to see what piques your interest, where you guys are at. Now, this will probably take the remainder of the class period. So we might not get to the exit questions. If we don't, that will be our warm up for tomorrow. But these are just a couple of questions sort of going over what we found in today's web quest. What were the some similarities between campaign ads? What part of your findings interested you the most? How did this intrigue you? What did you learn? What did we figure out today? All right, so I will go ahead and post this for you guys to look at. That is it for today. I now turn the time over to you. For those viewing, for those watching, I hope you have a great day, and we'll see you.